Books transform lives. They are bridges from your current self to your best self. And who better to show you the way to the top than those already there? Welcome to the book I'm reading, a weekly sit down with accomplished Nigerians where we find out what they are currently reading and how that book shapes their worldview. My name is Richard Mofe-Damijo, and I'm your host with the most. My friend today is Kiki Mordi, a journalist and feminist, best known for her work on the Emmy-nominated documentary Sex for Grades, which exposed sexual harassment in West African universities. Hey, Kiki. Thanks for coming through.
It's not a problem. I'm super excited to be here.
Good. Tell me, let's jump into it. What
Okay.
book are you reading? Why you're reading the book? And who is the book? Who is the author of the book?
I am rereading
Okay.
We Should All Be Feminists
Okay.
by Chimamanda Adichie, because I want to remind myself of the very first years when I decided to call myself a feminist. And I very much, it's sort of like a refresher course. It takes me back to the first time I discovered like African feminism.
How's that working for you, by the way?
Well, feminism in general, or
being tagged or going with it, agreeing to be seeing that the word is spat out like the word politician. So he's a politician.
More like a thief, actually.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So
it's like
it's
like being called a bad thing.
Yeah. Okay.
It's been going well, surprisingly. I've been enjoying every single moment of it. I also enjoy watching people spiral when they find out that I'm a feminist. That's also like a nice tip for me. So it's been going well.
Look, I don't know what the thing is, but then again, I am reminded of what Chimamanda talks about very copiously in the book, that what seems very obvious to you might not be obvious to the next person. So it's not safe to assume that everybody is at the level where you are. Tell me about your personal experiences, as a feminist. What are the things that stare at you in society that, really get you going?
I love that line. In fact, it sort of reminds me of what privilege is and how privilege exists in so many spaces. My experience is, I relate a lot to Chimamanda. In the book, she talks about a thing that happened at her school. A similar thing happened to me where, I planned to recite a poem. I studied it for weeks. And when it was time for me to recite my poem, I wasn't even, given the grace they didn't give me the grace to tell
try
me.
out.
Yes, I just heard my poem being recited by another person, and then they gave me this excuse that they wanted a guy or something, and so the boy took my poem and recited it. I worked so hard for that poem, and that was the first time I actually saw firsthand what it meant to be disenfranchised because of gender.
Was it a mixed school? Was this a primary school or a secondary school?
Primary school. It was a mixed school. We always had this thing where one boy, one girl, highest boy, highest girl, so we always, I could see that segregation, that divide already. But it was never apparent until the day that my poem was stolen from me because a boy was to present it. It was my poem. I wrote it for, the people living with HIV, and someone else took it.
Did things get worse? I'm 60 years old. Did things get worse, or was I just unaware of this separation when I was growing up? Because for me growing up, I call myself, by the way, now it's out. Now let me put it out there. I call myself a male feminist.
Great.
Because I am my mother's child. So and I grew up. She brought me up with the sensitivity of being conscious, of respect and all of that. So I didn't think that society was going to get this bad. So have we gotten worse, or it is just the manifestation of of the seeds that were sown in my generation?
Great. I love that, because that's exactly what it is. It was bad at the time, but you know what Chimamanda said about a thing not being too obvious? It happens, right? And some of it wasn't from a bad place. Most of it wasn't from a bad place. Letting women grow skills in the kitchen is not a bad thing. But when you you push them towards that direction because you're training them in the future to make that their duty and solely their duty, then it's a problem. So I mean, when you see things like that in your home, it's not bad. You're also doing work, you're washing your dad's car, so it's not a bad thing to you at the time, and it's normal. It's what everyone is doing. But when it starts to manifest in, for example, a man suddenly demanding cooking of the girl he's dating, and when she doesn't do it, he responds by beating her, then that's the manifestation of the seed where we told them every single day when they were growing up that when you become a man, it's the woman's job to cook for you. And he's like, where is my reward? I did everything that society told me to do. I made money. I did this and I did that. Where is my reward? And he responds with violence. So yes and no. It didn't get worse per se, but it's still that manifestation of what the seed that we sowed a couple of years
Was there
back.
any kind of remorse in the face of the young boy that had to read your poem? Did he know what had happened, or he was unfazed?
Oblivious. He did not think he had done anything wrong, and in truth, he hadn't done anything wrong. He was given the poem to recite, and he did just that. So, I met him a couple years later, and he was wondering like what that resentment was all about, and I explained to him, and he was like, "Oh, right." So he was covered by that privilege bubble. He didn't care to know where the poem came from, or that someone was disenfranchised just so that he could recite the poem. That wasn't his reality.
In your daily work now, I mean, do you when you are confronted by it, now that you have a voice, you know, that you're more aware, do you speak to it, and what are your experiences like?
Ooh.
I'd like to hear some.
Just last night.
Good.
My girlfriend and I, I'm just trying to experience Lagos. I don't go out so much anymore. And we were like, oh, let's just visit a club. And so we went there, and then the bouncer asked us if we were going to meet up with someone in there. We're like, oh no, we just came to hang out. And he said, sorry, we're not allowed in. This is just last night.
Oh my God. I wish we can just call the name of the club
I wish
and put a big X on them right now.
But you know what? I don't even hate. I know that in the past I would have, gone on this rant and called out the name of the club so much. I don't even have that hatred so much anymore. I just laugh because it's just I told you so to all the people that keep looking at me as if I'm crazy, as if I don't know what I'm saying. It's like, well, you see, this is a real life example. I can't spend my own money in the club because I wasn't escorted by a man.
Do you think the objectification of women is something that is caused by men, or women are now part and parcel of all of that?
I wouldn't say it's caused by like one group of people. The objectification of women is our collective, like what we do as a society.
People will argue with you that even women with bigger platforms and all that, they perpetuate it.
Of course. I mean, the women are not aliens. They are part of this same society that breeds the men that objectify women. Some of them believe that they deserve to be objectified. We were born in the same Nigeria. Like, let's forget about where we all stand now. The truth is, we're all a product of this same society. So it's not abnormal to see women perpetrating all of the spoils of patriarchy, all of the, misogyny, internalized misogyny, because sometimes they don't even realize that this thing that they're enabling is waiting for them in front.
That's right.
And they're going to be like victims of this same misogyny that they keep perpetrating. So, women are definitely part and parcel of this society that is very patriarchal.
Any redemption? Do you think the work out there is so big that it's like you get discouraged to even knowing where to start, or you can just keep pulling at it?
It's so big. Sometimes you just have to find your small space and camp there. When I first started identifying as a feminist, I really wanted to fight every single feminist fight, but I've just realized that I can't. I'm a human being. First of all, I'm more interested in getting like more young people because there is unity in strength. I'm not interested in alienating people like anymore. I mean, I wasn't doing that before, but I'm more interested in getting like more people to figure out where their feminist fight is. I've situated myself in a nice, peaceful corner of documenting women where, erasure is a huge tool of oppression. They did it with the colonial masters did it. When they came, they stole all they needed to steal, and then they burnt and destroyed the rest. So that when we talk about them oppressing us, they say, oh, we're helping them get to civilization. But we were civilized. But there is no evidence or documentation of
They
that.
found River Niger.
Exactly. No, they found it. The people that were living there before.
They didn't know that there was a river there.
So, I know that there are a lot of women who are in leadership positions, maybe not as president, but in our homes. They lead us, they guide us every day, and this leadership is taken for granted when it's now time to put them in positions that actually pay. I want us to document these little evidences, these little examples of women doing all that they need to do, to advance feminism or to advance gender equality. It's a relay race. I'm doing this one so that someone else can do what they can. So that's the small corner that I'm in right now, and it's very important to me.
Where do we find these documentaries? What are the subject ranges of this?
It's any single societal topic, as long as we look at it from a gender lens, where we focus on women. So right now the platform is documentwomen.com. We're doing our best. We have, we put out all sorts of content. We're like a news media outfits, but we're focusing on women. We have short films. We're trying to get more documentaries as well.
I can voice
on
some.
YouTube. Yes, you can.
Well, it has to be
as a male feminist.
Yes. I earn a ticket to that club.
Yes, for sure you do. And of course, it's not just for women; it's for everyone, because it's important that everyone realize that women have been an important part and parcel and fabric of our society.
Chimamanda, in the book,
yes,
it was a TEDx talk that was extended, but it doesn't matter. In the book, she talks about being labeled as when you say you're a feminist, being angry feminist, or what are the labels you're dealing with? Are you an angry feminist?
It's a lot. You hate men.
Yes.
Definitely. Why would I hate men? When people say, don't forget your father was a man, I'm like, oh, wow, I didn't know until you just reminded me. Thanks for that reminder. Obviously, I do not hate men. What I do hate is patriarchy. The patriarchy that enables a lot of men to get away with bad behavior.
That's right.
I don't like that. What else have I been called? People have accused me of being a westernized feminist. I'm as African as they come, and that's because I want to fix this Nigeria or this culture or this tribe I'm from. I'm Igbo. I want to fix it. I want it to work for us. I don't want us to erase my Igbo-ness. I like it. I love it, but I hate the parts of it that oppress women. And so when I speak actively against it, people just say that, I'm not proud of my culture. Which is funny, because when I start flaunting my Igbo-ness, people say I'm a tribalist. You can't get it right.
You can't win, right?
So I personally, when people ask me if I'm an angry feminist, I say yes, I am. One time I even called myself a bitter feminist, because someone tried to call me a bit. What's there not to be bitter about? About constantly hearing stories of rape of underage girls every single day.
Yes,
I'm bitter about that.
They're blamed for it.
And they're blamed for it.
Why did you? What were you doing there?
Yes. That's what. Why aren't you angry? In fact, I'm suspicious of a person that isn't angry about the constant bit of violence against women.
I speak up for it a lot. I've worked with the UN, and I'm with the EU, and I'm about to work with one of the agencies in the UN now to address that. During the pandemic, it rose.
Yes.
During the lockdown,
it did.
I remember doing a lot of videos and seeing some very awful statistics and videos about what's going on. Mm-hmm. Talking about documenting women. You are Igbo, you said.
Yes.
I remember in history the Aba women riot.
Yes.
Things like that. Fela's mom, those are women that are probably
shocked.
Even in Benin. If you go into our history, you will find, these great women from Amina to Idia and all that. So there's a lot to document.
There is.
Yeah. I'm interested in the word intersectionality. Please, just break it down for me. That world where you live in.
I will always reference what you used to start this program about not knowing a thing being obvious to you, thinking that it's obvious to everyone. I'm also in that. Sometimes I'm covered by my own privilege bubble.
Okay, so Chimamanda, the author, has been accused of a lot, especially on Twitter, of transphobia. idea or something like that.
Yeah.
Talk to me about feminism and intersectionality, with all that controversy going on in Twitter Dome.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, there's reality, right? Twitter is a very important place. I would say it's the place I found my community, I found my voice. But I must not be delusional enough to think that that's where conversations start and end. It doesn't end on Twitter. It ends in real life. And that conversation was very multi-layered about intersectionality. First of all, speaking on intersectionality, it's a very important aspect of any fight, including feminism.
Break it down to me like I'm a 2-year-old.
Okay, so it just means that sometimes your identity would intersect with other things. For example, I'm a woman, and because I'm a woman, I might face misogyny in my society. But I'm also a black person, and because of that, I might face some racism if I'm in the US. Now, being a black woman means that I have a specific kind of oppression that I face for not just being a woman, but being a black one. And it goes far and wide, sometimes to your sexuality, to your gender identity, to your, ability or disability. It goes on. And it's very important because, you cannot fight against one oppression while perpetrating another kind. And and Chimamanda herself, knows that that's a very important conversation. I mean, it reflects in what she says about privilege, about not knowing that a thing is obvious. As she also spoke about, I think she's spoken about race a lot. So she really understands.
She tackles race.
She tackles race a lot. And
the danger of a one-sided story.
Yes, exactly. So this is not a one story. It's not linear. Right. And many, the trans community will definitely have the trans community in Nigeria is not even the same with the trans community in the US, first of all. That's how bad it is. That's why it's not one story. And so people try to force things to be one thing. And that's why a lot of us don't learn so much. A lot of people don't learn so much. We feel like we're infallible because we now practice feminism. We've now read the books that make us smarter. We now feel like we can speak over lived experiences. And that for me just showed that no one was being helped in the process of people trying to support Chimamanda. They were perpetrating violence against the trans community. In the process of people trying to speak to trans realities, we're speaking over, in fact, some trans women whose voices had been, shut out in that conversation. Some of them were perpetrating misogyny against women. So it was a question of who is winning this Twitter fight and who is not winning. But away from Twitter, the reality is that they're human beings. They're real humans who are sufferers of these forms of oppression, who have not been helped whatsoever because we turned it into a bicker on social media, into who's winning and who has more of a platform and who's throwing more dirt. And it was quite unfortunate, because these are women who have in the past used their space to help other women like myself, come into their own and understand what feminism was to them. So I just, like Chimamanda said in her essay, as a matter of fact, in response to being accused of transphobia, I do hope that we're able to have this conversation without much judgment. I know that sometimes I'm very passionate and I'm very protective of women, that I'm ready to fight anybody. I know that. But at the end of the day, I think that we should be able to have conversations. We should be able to learn. What's the point at the end of the day if we alienate everyone who's supposed to be our allies, right?
It seems to me it shouldn't be about winning an argument. It's
nobody wins.
Yes,
that's the unfortunate
holding
fact.
conversations and getting to the bottom of it all and finding a way to move society forward.
Sure.
What should we all be doing? Chimamanda said we all should be feminists. What should we all be doing that we are not doing now?
We should be self-reflecting. That is very important. Nobody knows it all. Not one person. We definitely should self-reflect a lot. And it's possible to be right and be wrong at the same time, in the sense that you're fighting for one thing, but you're doing something else that is wrong. And they say he who comes with equity must come in clean hands. It's very, very necessary for you to self-assess. Okay, So this person has said a thing to me. I want to respond. I'm angry, of course. But like, where is this coming from? And what, where do I stand, in reason with my own response? And I think that might help. That's the biggest lesson I learned from that whole conversation between accusing Chimamanda of transphobia and the things that she was talking about. It seemed like two different conversations were happening. You're doing this mudslinging at me, and then you're accusing me of violence, but you can't see how your words are violent to me.
That's right.
And it was just too insightful looking at it from the outside. And I must confess that I may have found myself in similar situations before where I'm trying to be right, but like, what is more important, being right or being kind, right? So that was a big lesson for me.
We all get drawn into this feat of anger, and then we temporarily lose, what we should be doing. As a feminist, I can use the word now, and I don't spit it out like a bad word. What is the place of chivalry, in your world? How does feminism in your
chivalry is not I don't see it as a useful thing. Okay. I would choose empathy, kindness, respect, which is
can it manifest as being chivalrous?
Well, I don't think too much of it. For example, if a man opens the door for me, I'm not going to think that he thinks I'm weak. I'm obviously not a weak woman. So, it's nice. It's a nice thing to do. I probably wouldn't. I'm not a nice person. I was going to say I'll probably open the door. No, I mean, of course, I can't open the door for people. Well, he shouldn't bother himself, maybe, with all of those details, thinking that it makes him a better man than the next person because he opens doors. There are lots of men that open doors and still beat their wives. Right. So it's just, kindness.
I think that I'm an actor, you know that, right? And sometimes we're lost in the world of in movies and all that. We've been told to go on one knee to propose. And all that, and so we leave these moments in isolation of the fact that it probably will, if you by extension, you open doors and all that. I do it. I'm kind to women, or I'm sensitive to women by I call it being gentlemanly. Not because I consider the woman weak in any sense, but I just think it's I feel a sense of how I was brought up to be very courteous.
Yes.
I'm an only child of my mother, and she drummed it into my head like I must be very respectful to women and very courteous to women. So I don't see it as I don't consider women weak.
Yeah,
I bring up my kids to be, I was telling you earlier about my daughter. And so, I just wanted to get your perspective on that. And
I don't think it's controversial. I think, in fact, as a matter of fact, a lot of women find it attractive. So it's not controversial enough for me to say ban chivalry. Do you, I guess. It's nice. It's a nice gesture. Just don't expect, at the end of the day, when you do this one favor for a woman, don't think that you are supposed to be paid in form of maybe her attention or her phone number, and don't feel entitled to that. So that's the only ad-lib that I would add to that.
Oh, yeah. After that, if you start asking for phone numbers, then
you can ask, but don't be entitled.
What's the entitlement is it's a big topic that we probably need to spend an entire, session on. What is the worst thing you've ever, confronted?
Oof.
Here or abroad or whatever.
This one is hard. The worst thing.
I mean, I didn't drill down on the nightclub thing. If you ended up entering or not.
I didn't end up entering. That's small chops. Okay, that's one of the least things that I've confronted. I've had to confront these things that I fight against. In my own space. It's one of the hardest things that you have to do, where you have to confront a family member or a dear friend on the things that you publicly advocate against. But it has to be done.
And it grows, and it's festering right
It's
there
festering
in your own,
right there in your own space, in
yes,
your own safe space.
Yes.
It's the singular most. It was heavy. I think that's the only way I can explain it. It was too heavy on me, and it was just an unfair burden that was put on me. But I had to confront it because, I mean, I would be a hypocrite to advocate against one thing every single day outside, and then it's festering in my own home.
Yes.
So that's the hardest thing that I've ever had to do.
I remember having to speak to my mom, who I love dearly. I mean, you know how when you get married, and you're trying to say to her, look, you know, this is me now, all right? So don't do the mother-in-law shit. Oh, sorry, I can't say shit on radio. Don't do the mother-in-law thing, you know. Just try. Let's all live together and be happy. Just try and respect her space and all that. I'm very protective of my space.
Yes.
You know, with my family. I've had a long drawn problem with my elder sister because I don't think she respected my space enough, you know, when it comes to my wife, and it has really been it's been the heaviest fight I've ever had to fight because, like you said, it's an unfair burden on you to have to look inward and look at one of the closest persons to you. She brought me to Lagos and all that, and I had to say to her at some point that you can't do this. You know, this is my family, and if you can't respect that, you're a woman, so you know.
You should know.
Yes, I knew how I know how you are with your own marriage space, and how you don't like people coming from outside to tell you how to run it, and so it is very, very difficult to do that. Anyway, going back to the book, what's your favorite page or quote or takeaway from the book? Would you like to share something with us?
I have a lot of those. It's a very funny, actually. It's listed a lot of humor. Yeah. I think I like the one where she had a long ad lib for her feminist title, where she says, I am a happy feminist who loves men and wears lip gloss and shoes for herself.
Not for.
There's a lot of funny points, but I do like that part because I see feminists try to bend over. In fact, they don't call themselves feminists. Some call themselves like different names. So I'm a person who cares for gender. They try to water it down. They bend over backwards to make feminism digestible. But the reality is it will never, ever be digestible by a society.
You think so?
No. But by a society?
Because if I'm a firm believer that if we all are working consciously in all our spaces, there will be some interconnectivity someday, or there will be some point of convergence at some point.
That society is not this one. We need to build or advance to that one that would accept this.
But we're
society.
sowing the seeds, perhaps now. We're sowing the seeds.
Are.
I mean, Kiki is working seriously in her space to make sure that, you know, a few years down the line, people can you know, refer to some of the work you have done.
Yeah, for sure.
Listen, Kiki, we are not done yet. I just want you to hold that thought. We are going to go on a break, and when we come back, we're going to play a game. Do you like money?
I do love money. I'm an Igbo babe.
So we'll ask you questions related to money and banking. All right? Guys, don't go away.
Let me introduce a new wave, we change the rules. A new app that you can use. Wanna change your life, then choose. Save money and invest. Pay bills when you decide. Safe and secure for you when you need a loan. Request it. One bank for you, one bank for me. So chill and enjoy the ride. Stop to call and to count on it. One bank.
One Bank by Sterling. Open a current account and start transacting.
Okay, so Kiki, before we go into the game, I would like for you to read your favorite part. So if you found one to read for us, we'll read and then we'll take the questions.
All right.
And then we'll see if you can win some money.
Yeah. I'll just open to a random page really and read something.
Okay.
Gender is not an easy conversation to have. It makes people uncomfortable, sometimes even irritable. Both men and women are resistant to talk about gender or are quick to dismiss the problems of gender. Because thinking of changing the status quo is always uncomfortable.
That is so powerful. So
Yes,
powerful.
it is.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why I said, do you sometimes think that the work that is ahead of us is so much that you don't even know where to start?
It's a lot. We need all the help that we can get.
Yeah. Okay, so game time, yeah? You ready?
Yes.
You feeling lucky? Okay, so first I'll give you choices, so
Okay.
so don't be too scared.
All
So
right.
question 1. As of 1790, there were dash number of banks in the United States of America. Take note, 1790. It's almost an unfair question, but hey. A, 6. All right? As of 1790, there were 6 banks in America. B, 3. C, 10.
That's all?
That's it.
Where's 0? 1790.
Yes.
There were banks.
Yes, they were. Yeah,
They were
actually.
like dinosaurs or something.
No, they were banks. 1790 is not so far off. That's just like what, 3 centuries away?
That's what. There were banks 3 centuries. Oh, wow.
Oh, there were banks as early as 12 something.
Oh, my goodness.
Yes.
I will just randomly pick 6.
Would you like to call a friend?
Yes, can I call a friend? I don't even know who I'd call.
So
except Google.
your answer is 6, right?
Yes.
So that's A. Well, if you had said 10, you would have been, I'm afraid, wrong.
Okay.
And now that if you had said 3, which is smack in the middle, then you would have been right. So I'm afraid, Kiki, you were wrong. 6 is such a horrible number for 1790. It was not allowed.
Yeah, come on, 6.
Yes, it wasn't.
I should have known.
Okay, so question 2, a chance to repair, to undo this. So America did not have an agreed upon national currency until the year dash A, 1862, that is 1862, 1864B, and 1863.
The options are so similar.
So it's 1862, 1864, or 1863, or in the reverse order, 1862, 1863, 1864. But one is whatever year you choose, A, B, or C.
B.
B. Oh, man. Well, if you had said A, you would have been wrong.
Okay.
But then again, if you had this time just gone the extreme and said C, you would have been right. So, I'm so sad because I'm such a male feminist.
No, this is against feminism.
It's against feminism, right?
No.
It is such.
The patriarchy cannot win.
It
What?
is such an insensitive question. I mean,
I don't know.
I'm forced
I
to.
blame the men for this.
I'm forced to advance the questions to the rise of banking in Nigeria and ask you what's the very first bank that we had in Nigeria.
The very first bank. Wait, oh God, I'm so scared because I can I say 3 options?
Yeah, I don't have options for that because I don't even know the answer. So I'm hoping that when you say your answer, we'll go to Google. We'll ask my producer.
Why do I think it's First Bank? Because Union, which one has the horse?
I think we'll let you. I don't want you to prevaricate. If the advert is anything to go by, First Bank's really the first. They were not called First Bank at the time.
At the time, right?
They probably are the First Bank.
Yeah.
It's okay. Kiki.
Oh well.
It's okay. Well, I just first want to ask you before we go on another break. Who would you recommend this book to?
This book?
Yes.
Oh dear. I would recommend it to my 19-year-old self, my 14-year-old self. But you mean a person, an actual person?
Person or people, But I like the fact that you would like to recommend it to 14 and 19-year-old girls right now.
Yes, I want like young girls, because those are your formative years where you have so many questions, and I think that some of those questions might be answered here. It's very small manual, and
you don't think boys should read it too?
I do think that boys should read it. In fact, actually, now that you mention it, I do think that, because it said we should all be feminists, not only women should be feminists. So yes, young, teenagers should read this book, because that's the year where you have so many questions, and this could be the answer.
Kiki, I want to thank you for coming. I know that we can go on and on, about this. I would have loved to ask you what your next big thing would be, project would be. I know you are into this documenting women. Is there something that you're actively also pursuing on the side?
Yeah, I mean, I've tried my hands at film directing this year alone, and I've actually done a couple of nice projects. So
please come direct me. I'm an actor in search of a director.
I'm scared.
No, don't be. We'll do collaborative work.
Oh no, I'm so happy to do that. Yes. I'm gonna hold you up. There's evidence.
I'm on national radio. Yes.
Okay, great. Yes,
I enjoy working with female directors. Actually, Kemi Adichie is a fantastic
director.
Is
amazing.
Shirley Amanso from Ghana, fantastic.
Great.
What's her name now? Tokbe.
Oh yeah.
Oshin. So yeah, I've had the privilege of being directed by a very good female director. So please, let's do a project together soon. Yeah, maybe on feminism and male feminism and all that. Yeah.
No, actually.
Kiki, thank you.
No problem. Thank you so much for having me.
Guys, we are not done yet. We're just going to go on a small break. And as you know, when we come back, it will be story. I got a story. All right, story time.
Let me introduce a new wave, we change the rules. A new app that you can use. Wanna change your life, then choose. Save money and invest. Pay bills when you decide. Safe and secure for you when you need a loan. Request it. One bank for you, one bank for me. So chill and enjoy the ride. Stop the call and to count on it. One bank.
One Bank by Sterling. Open a current account and start transacting.
Welcome back. I'm RMD and she's Kiki Mordi, and this is the book I'm reading on RadioNow 95.3. So, it's story time. Are you comfortable? Good. Now, every week we learn something new about banking, from The Truth About Banking, a book by Sterling Bank. Last time we learned about the rise of modern banking in China. Today, let's head to the US of A and explore the rise of modern banking in the US of A. Okay. The American way has always been different, and that is evident in the evolution of its banking subculture. As a new nation that emerged in the 18th century after the War of Independence, the frontier nature of the United States saw the rise of commercial banking opportunities for entrepreneurs who needed capital for growing businesses. Many of those upstarts have now become mega financial corporations that account for some of the world's biggest banks. The new country was dominated by small private banking enterprises, which operated through insider lending. This was due to a number of factors, including its massive landmass, decentralized nature of governance, and plethora of small, independent businesses. Many of these banks became the bedrock of early infrastructural investments and contributed immensely to the financial evolution of the United States. By 1790, when the country had its first president, there were still only 3 banks in the United States. The first had established in 1790 by merchants who traveled from today's United Kingdom to fund the American Revolutionary War. Midway into it, it was called the Bank of Pennies. The first had established in 1790 by merchants who traveled from today's United Kingdom to fund the American Revolutionary War. Midway into it, it was called the Bank of Pennsylvania. They operated individually rather than as a part of an organized banking system. But many currencies were in circulation in the states and neighborhoods. English, Spanish, French, Portuguese coinage, and other forms of tender. These currencies had approximate values that fluctuated geographically, but this was irrelevant in a society dominated by local trades. It was not until 1863 that the National Bank Act was passed to create a national currency, a federal banking system, and make public loans. An experimental mix of both federal and state laws with the single purpose of centralizing control for fiscal stability, it became the forerunner of all regulations to come. Today, banking activity in the United States still bears a semblance to that past. Its dual banking system can be charted either at the state or federal level, with at least one federal supervisor. While the Federal Reserve System, backed by a 1914 legislation, is the central banking system, bodies like the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, Office of the Comptroller of the Currency, also act as regulators. Now that was an excerpt from the book The Truth About Banking by Sterling Bank. Next time we will learn about banking in the time of the transatlantic slave trade. Now that was an excerpt from the book The Truth About Banking by Sterling Bank. Next time we will learn about banking in the time of the transatlantic slave trade. Sadly, we have come to the end of today's show. As usual, I'll leave you with a quote. This one is from Woman at Point Zero, a book by late feminist writer, activist, physician, and psychiatrist Nawal El-Saadawi. Now listen to this, and I quote, "Everybody has to die. Fidel, I will die, and you will die. The important thing is how to live until you die." End of quote. Oh, ye lovers of books, hearing my voice, I implore you to live well, live happily, live the good health until your time, far in the future, comes. Before we go, make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel, RadioNow Studios, and text TBIR to 080968225595 on WhatsApp to join our book club. Today, you and I spoke with journalist and activist Kiki Mordi, who is currently reading We Should All Be Feminists by Chimamanda Adichie. What book is next? Find out on our next episode of The Book I'm Reading. The Book I'm Reading is brought to you by RadioNow 95.3 FM and supported by Sterling Bank. And I'm your host, probably with the most, Richard Mofe-Damijo. See you next time. And I'm out.